today's executive career panel. We are so excited to have a phenomenal lineup of career panelists who are joining us today. And we are also very excited to have some of our members of our student council who will be joining us as well to ask questions of our panelists. So we welcome all of you students, and we welcome our panelists today. Before we begin, we would just like to say thank you to our event and program sponsors. It's because of these organizations that we are able to do this program week after week and inspire thousands of young women all across the state of New Jersey and our adult volunteers as well. So huge thanks to ADP, the Deloitte Foundation, the MetLife Foundation, Sanofi, and our sponsors Church & Dwight, Carney Bank, New Jersey Resources, Merck, CNBC, Crow, Wells Fargo, CDW, EY, Fidelity, L'Oreal, Prudential, PSC&G, and Valley Bank. Students, if you are just joining us for the first time, there are lots of opportunities to continue to build your leadership skills with Junior Achievement. You can earn our digital badge for career readiness, and you'll also get a certificate of leadership if you complete this. All you have to do is attend or view 5 or more of these sessions, complete a survey, and submit a final project. Or you can become a Women's Future Leadership Academy student ambassador. To learn more about these programs or to register for our in-person forums, which we are really excited about, happening on June 4th and 28th, all you have to do is visit our website, janjacademy.org, to register, or you can simply shoot me an email. So on that note, we are very excited to kick off our career panel for today. Again, we are extremely excited to have a very amazing lineup of dynamic women speakers, all with a really great variety of careers and stories, who are here to encourage us and inspire us and tell us some great stories about how they've become successful leaders in their fields. We welcome Jamie Ellis, who is Chief of Staff at Verizon, Tracy Grella, who is the Global Head of Cyber at AIG, Maite Javier, who is a Principal Engineer at Colliers, and Susan Podlegar, who is EVP and Chief Human Resources Officer at MetLife. Welcome, panelists. So we'd like to begin with introductions. Panelists, I'm going to ask you please to very briefly introduce yourselves to our students. A little bit about your career background, where you went to school, your education career path, and what you do on the job. And we will begin our introductions with Tracy. Welcome, Tracy.
Thank you, Christy, and thanks for having me. I'm Tracy Grella, and I'm the Global Head of Cyber Insurance at AIG. I started at AIG actually out of college, and I've had several roles within the organization here. I went to Rutgers University and graduated with a degree in finance. I joined in a program for recent college graduates at AIG and was able to work in a few different departments to learn a little bit more about the company, and ultimately ended up in our professional liability and cyber underwriting practice. And underwriting cyber insurance we started this practice in the late 90s. And of course, now we hear a lot about cyber attacks in the news. So this has been a really great area to focus on in insurance, an opportunity to be very creative, working with all large organizations across the world. And my responsibility is to set our strategy on how we evaluate cyber risk at organizations and design insurance products for them, and to ensure that AIG is profitable in offering this type of cover.
Excellent. Thank you, Tracy, and certainly a very exciting and interesting career, especially now. Thank you so much for sharing. Our next panelist, welcome, Maite.
Hi, everyone. I'm very excited to be here. My name is Maite. I'm original from Dominican Republic, so that's why my name, it's a combination of two, Spanish. I am a civil engineer at the Municipal Department of Colliers Engineering and Design, and they were formerly Macer Consulting. Basically, we do multidisciplinary jobs that have to do with structural engineering, telecommunications, anything that has to do with the branches within civil engineering. I work on the public side, so we serve communities and municipalities in New Jersey, where we do roadway improvements, we do rehabilitation of parks, also residential development. So mostly I am sitting on my computer every day designing for municipalities. I graduated in May 2021, so I only have less than a year working in the industry from New Jersey Institute of Technology, NJIT. And before that, I was a City College, and before that, I was a Brookfield Community College. So I've been through 3 colleges, 3 different experiences, and I'm excited to be here.
Well, we are certainly excited to have you here, Maite. Thank you so much. Next, we are so excited to have you here today, Susan. Welcome, Susan. Can you tell us a little bit about your background? Very exciting stuff.
Sure. So Susan Podlegar, as you said, I head human resources for MetLife, and I went undergrad to University of Wisconsin Parkside, studied business management and labor relations, and got my master's at University of South Florida with an MBA with a finance concentration. And where I've worked, I started out in consulting. The big blocks of places I worked were Mercer Consulting, where we do human resources, performance consulting, worked at Johnson & Johnson for many years, and now at MetLife. Those are the big blocks. And, I think I have the greatest job in terms of I get to bring out the gifts and the potential of over 50,000 employees every day and try to set the right environment to bring that out. And it's a privilege, but a huge responsibility that I feel. And then also, prepare the organization for the future, make sure that we have the right talent, the right skills, the right culture, and the right energy.
Well, thank you, Susan, and we are glad that you're here today to bring out our students' potential. Very exciting stuff. And then finally, last but not least, certainly, we are very excited to have Jamie Ellis with us here. Welcome, Jamie.
Hello, thank you so very much. I'm so excited to be here amongst all of these powerful women that I get to join in this panel today. My name is Jamie Ellis. I am the Chief of Staff to the CFO of the Verizon Consumer Group. I attended The Ohio State University, go Bucks. I'm an Ohioan through and through. My path to my current role within the Verizon space has definitely not straight. It went through a lot of twists and turns. I actually began the first 15 years of my professional career in the beauty industry, managing spas and salons, a district manager of Massage Envy, multiple chains in the Columbus, Ohio area, and had what may be a 30-year crisis where I decided to completely pivot and switch to an industry that I knew nothing about, which was telecom. I've been with Verizon coming up on 8 years, and I've been, through a lot of hard work and amazing connections and sponsors, I've been able to navigate into the space where I'm currently supporting the finance organization, which until 9 months ago, I could have told you nothing about. I can tell you how to find a really great deal at Macy's. I can tell you how to bargain shop at the grocery store. But when it came to, having conversations about net ads and what we need to do with promo spend, that's definitely been a beautiful stretch and an amazing way for me to learn and increase my own personal acumen. So it's been an amazing ride with Verizon. And it really just kind of shows no matter where you are in your career, there's always space to learn and grow and to become bigger than your initial dreams ever could have imagined for you to be. So that's a little brief synopsis of me.
That's great. Thank you, Jamie. What a great example of the importance of transferable skills. How a lot of us take those winding career paths. When you have those transferable skills, they're applicable to a variety of different instances. So thank you all so much for those great introductions. At this point, we are so excited to bring in our students. Our first student question will be asked by our WFLA council member, Luani. Luani, would you kindly unmute yourself and ask our panelists the first question?
Hi, so my name is Luani Hernandez. I am from Carter High School. I'm a 12th grader, so I'm going to be graduating in a month by now. Feels great. So my question was, so we all know that life can throw us unexpected challenges, and these past few years have definitely posed some challenges for all of us. But we know that learning how to overcome these challenges actually helps us stay centered and remain calm under pressure. So if you could tell me about like your greatest challenge or your greatest setback and how you overcame it.
All right. Thank you so much, Luani. Challenges and setbacks. That's a great question. Maite, we'll go to you first, and then we'll go in the same order after you, Maite.
I love this question because, like I said, I just graduated college, and Luani is actually going to transfer to college now. And so my greatest setback was when I went from Brookton Community College to City College of New York, which was a 4-year school, coming from a small 25 students a class to 100 students a class. It was a big transition for me, and I didn't expect it, even though you plan for it and you try to communicate and try to learn from other people that have experienced it. I failed 2 classes on my first semester. After never failing any classes before, not in high school, not in my community college, I failed 2 classes. And more than in shock, I was like sad and angry because I'm an A student. Why am I failing 2 classes in my first semester? So I think that what really set me back and made me and failed me was the fact that I didn't realize that I actually wasn't preparing myself for it. I was just thinking, oh, I'm an A student, but I wasn't acting as an A student. I was more into, I'm great, but am I putting the time? Am I self-disciplined? Am I doing time management? So I think that what I did to overcome that was I sat down and reflected and try to plan my things. I got a planner. I time my classes every depending on how many credits I had. I went in through, oh, this is how many hours I need per week. And so I focused in school and left everything else to the side, because at that point I was, well, this can't happen again, right? So yeah, the thing I learned the most was don't overestimate, I guess, don't underestimate how much work you have to put in, and don't think you're so great or whatever. Just do what you got to do and focus, and you'll get there. But if you fail, don't think you can't come back up, because failing, it's not just going down and going into the floor and failing. It's actually staying there. So you go, you fail, just get back up. Everything's going to be fine.
That's great. Great advice. Thank you so much, Maite. Get back up, right? We've all been there, and it's so important to remember that. Thank you so much. Susan, can you tell us a little bit about a challenge you faced and how you overcame it?
Yeah, I would say not a big challenge. I would say for me, it's the series of little challenges that add up and erode confidence over time. And if you let that get away from you, it can become a big challenge in terms of confidence. And so listen, I'm a 9th child in my family, so I've been able to handle quite a bit of adversity, being the youngest one. But listen, when you have those situations, they're little waves that hit you and you self-doubt, right? And so it's our own mindset, our own self-talk. And that if it keeps crashing in, that self-talk can actually overwhelm. And so for me, it's always if I recognize that there's a small wave coming in and I'm feeling a little less confident, it's the intervention on yourself, right? So reflect, know what you want to contribute, be your own advocate, because who do you rely on in the end? You only rely on you, right? And you have it within you to be able to do, just like Maite said, she had it within her. It was just reflection of going back to what she could contribute. And I also think that it's adversity to power you. I mean, I didn't go to a big name school, and I went to a consulting firm which values big name schools, right? And I came in and I was making significantly less than a person who came in fresh and from a big name school. And so I used that, I had a little bit of a chip on my shoulder. And so I used that adversity to power myself and to say, listen, I'm going to lean in and I'm going to show what I can do. And I can do just as much as that person that went to a different school than I did. So, and I would say the last thing is, just really the power of reflection and looking back at what you've done in the past can help lift you when you're having those moments of self-doubt, and also, get out of your own way. Because much of us getting in our own way and our own adversity is the bubble that sits over our head. Let that bubble go and create a new self-talk, a positive self-talk that reinforces you.
Thank you so much. So I love that positive self-talk, and we all get in our own way sometimes. So thank you so much for saying that so beautifully. Jamie, what do you think? What kind of challenges have you had to overcome? How did you do it?
I think one of the biggest challenges, or instead of a setback, it set me up, I would say, for success in the future was, initially in my career in Verizon, I had a lot of conversations about my brand. Right? Your brand, that's a word that we use a lot, the way in which individuals perceive you. How are they talking about you when you're not in the room? I have a very big personality. I'm very concise in my speaking. I won't say, 7 words if 3 will suffice. It's the way that I've raised my daughter. It's the way that I speak to my family, but not everyone necessarily received that as being very welcoming. Right. And personable. And so I had a lot of tough conversations in the beginning of my career at Verizon that really had me questioning whether or not this was the right place, the right industry, the way that I'm presenting myself. I have this beautiful family that loves me, and yet I go to work and everyone's telling me I need to be softer, I need to be gentler, I need to smile more, I need to do all of these things, and that, sometimes my approach is aggressive and too strong. And, my light bulb moment was really a couple of years ago when I went through a training with Clifton Strength Finders. And I had a trainer sit down and tell my team, Jamie is always going to be your strongest player because she's honest and she'll tell you the truth, whether you like it or not, because that's just how she's built. These are her strengths. This is what she does. Jamie, you should always lean into your strengths. And for so many years, I'd had people tell me that I needed to be gentler and softer and smile more and almost share with me adjectives and descriptives that are so atypical of what we hear that women need to be, versus actually stepping into the truth of who I really am, which I'm a very strong, independent woman. I'm a single mother of a 20-year-old who's in college. I had her when I was young, 19, and I've had to navigate this thing called life very much on my own. And when I did some quiet meditation and reflection and thought about who am I really and what do I want to put out for the world to see, it was what I had already been showing, that this is who I am. I'm showing up every day the exact same. And even though I've had these tough feedback conversations about my brand, maybe those people just couldn't see the vision of what I could bring to the table. Maybe they weren't ready yet for the powerful force that I'm meant to be in this world. And once I learned that lesson, the doors opened up. When I tell you that over the course of 3 years, I've had 4 promotions, that's real, because I stepped into being my authentic self. And as a result of me being true to myself, my daughter in no way doubts what she brings to the table. And it tells me on a regular basis that she's proud of me because she sees that I'm being true to myself and I'm not letting anyone dim my light or push down what I was always destined for. But had I listened to, if I'm being honest, a lot of male leaders who told me to smile more and told me to be softer and more open and share more, I'm not sure that I would be where I am today. So I'm grateful for a training that just put in black and white, this is who you are. So just be who you are. You already know it. But now I've got some data to back it up. Sometimes you just need that data to say this is accurate. Now go out and conquer the world. But yeah, the brand conversations, those were tough. I'm sure Susan, HR, you've had to deliver some. They're challenging. They can be really, really challenging, and they can be challenging to hear. But I'm glad that I persevered.
Well, we are too, and what a great sentiment to live your truth. So important, and I see we're all shaking our heads here with some of the things that you're saying. So finally, Tracy, Global Head of Cyber at AIG. Clearly, you probably experiences challenges on the job every day. So can you tell us a little bit about maybe a challenge or setback that you had to overcome in your line of work?
Yes, thank you. I love all those comments so far. And of course, being your authentic self is so, so important. I was going to say that, one of the challenges was when you're thinking about taking the next opportunity and moving forward, it could be scary. You're wondering what it's going to be like, and are you going to be able to be successful at that? And Susan probably knows the statistics, but there's a lot of studies around women where women think that they have to know the next job 110% to take it, and men need to know it like 10%, and they think they're qualified. But women really want to be overly qualified in order to go for that next role. So a few years ago, we were reorganizing AIG as a large global company, but our jobs were more geographic. We were reorganizing into global roles. And I was on the committee to find a global head of cyber and professional liability. And I didn't think that I wanted to take that role, even though I probably was the most qualified to do it, because I was thinking like I had 2 young children, and globally I was going to have to do so much traveling, and it's going to be all around the world. And as we started to talk about other people who could take the role, I just started to realize I'm not going to be happy with anyone else in this role. I know this role and I want to do this role. And I did take it. And the lesson that I really learned there, and I see this with other women all the time, don't start imagining what the future is going to be like and what you can't do. Just take it and see how things work out. It actually ended up being fantastic for me in many ways. But the one thing I was concerned about was the travel and being away from home so much. But it turned out that it was better because internationally, one, flights are never delayed. So they actually sometimes ended up being shorter as opposed to like spending the night in Chicago airport. And they were always planned. Like, it's big travel internationally, it's expensive, so it's always planned. Where in the US, sometimes it's like, today I find out I have to go to Chicago, and then it's like, you got to make up all these, change your schedule. So it actually ended up being easier with the international travel that I was so concerned about. And very often I have women on my team that they'll get married and they'll say to me, oh, I'm going to start a family, and I think this job is just it's too intense. And so I'm going to look to go to another company. And I just, that really upsets me, because you're not even giving it a chance to see how you can create this and bring it into your life, and you can do it. And so I think just don't get overwhelmed by it and think that you can't do things. Talking about positive comments, as was mentioned before, and being positive about yourself, and take it, try it, see what you can learn from it, get those experiences. And like how Jamie took some experiences, and you could always pivot into other roles if you think it's not working. So always go for it. And you are qualified to do it. No one would be asking you to do it if they didn't think you were qualified. So I think you just have to really have that confidence.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah. That idea, just to go for it. And then remember, you are qualified. Such great advice. Thank you all. That was fantastic answers to that question. We really appreciate it. So we're going to move on to our next question. Our next student presenter is Priya, another one of our student member of our WFLA council members. So Priya, welcome. Would you mind unmuting yourself and asking our panelists the next question?
Of course. Hi, my name is Priya, and it's so nice to meet you all. Thank you all for your answers to the question previously. I'm also a senior, just like Luani. I'm so happy to be graduating in the next couple of months. So here's the question. We've learned that leadership skills are the abilities to lead and deliver projects, encourage initiatives, and build a sense of common purpose and empower others. We've also learned that different careers require a unique set of skills. So looking back on your life and your career, what skill or skills did you develop that enabled you to come this far and accomplish so much?
All right, excellent. Great question. Thank you, Priya. What are the skills that you have that have allowed you to accomplish so much? We'll start this time with Susan.
Great, thank you, Priya, for the question. And Jamie, I'm always told smile less, because I'm always smiling. So just the opposite. So on, this, I would say, some of the things that you mentioned already, I would say, see big, see what's ahead of you, have a broader vision of what you want to do, but do lots of small. And that's in business world, that's kind of execution, right? So be able to see the big picture and execute. Don't just talk about it, get it done with grit. A lot of people that I see succeed in organizations are not the one who sits and pontificates and is the smartest one sitting in the room. It's the person who sees the vision ahead and has grit, and gets the work done. And, there's a Japanese proverb that says vision without action is only a dream. So as long as you have that vision and that action that supports it, that's where it's released. And so that's kind of how I've guided things. Second thing is just invest smartly. And I think this might sound a little weird, but it invests smartly in a couple ways. One, the greatest gift I ever got in my career was my first professor who taught me about compound interest. So that's financially. So if you can set yourself up financially over time, it gives you confidence to be able to have your mind go into other areas because that's taken care of. So having that financial foundation, once you get into an organization, wherever you are, save into your 401k, save wherever you can. So invest smartly there financially, but invest smartly in you. You are actually your best investment. And others have talked about, I'm an insatiable learner. And I just invest little by little every single day in what am I going to learn? And then investing in every day, little by little in my knowledge, my brain development, my physical development, and then also finding that downtime. And then I would say the last thing that, something that I've always carried with me is play the part you want to be. And this goes back a little bit to Tracy was saying, because women, sometimes feel like, oh, I have to do the full job. But if you just do part of it, like, okay, my boss is having this meeting, what may she need in order to be successful in the meeting? And I present something that she wasn't expecting, right? And so play that part that you want to be, start demonstrating who you are and what you can bring to the table, even before you get to that next role.
That's great. Thank you so much, Susan. Jamie, we'll turn it over to you. What do you think, Jamie?
So one of the skills that I would have to say that I didn't even realize I was developing, but started very young, was becoming an effective orator. So you can be amazing at your job and you can love your role implicitly, but do you have the capacity to express that verbally? Do you have the capacity to put the words behind the actual work that you're doing? At Verizon, we have a mid-year, we have a year-end where you have to be able to easily say, this is the work that I've done. And, this is the impact, positive, negative, or indifferent, that it's had on the business. I've been very, very lucky in my life that I've always loved the written word. And as a result, was able to easily absorb that information and then regurgitate it into my everyday vernacular. My daughter makes fun of me on the regular basis. And, why can't you just say the easy word instead of the 17 letter word you just said? And I'm like, I don't know, because that's what rattled off the top of my head. So being an effective orator has always been really tantamount to my success, because while I am a grit worker, as Susan mentioned, and I'm grimy and I get it done. That's part of my skills that I was mentioning earlier. Responsibility is a big one. I take a lot of responsibility for my work, so it's going to get done. We're not going to have a miss, but I'm also able to articulate the work that we're doing, why we're doing it, and why it's successful. In my role as a chief of staff, another skill that is extremely, and I don't even know if I can say this is necessarily a skill, but part of my responsibility is to be a strategic advisor. So that means that I'm meant to observe and sit back and see everything that's happening around in the finance organization. And when I'm having those moments with Caroline Armour, who is my direct leader, to say, I'm noticing some areas in which we can improve. So I'm always observing and looking for how can we shore up our foundation to be stronger. I do what I call Swiss cheese, where I come in and I poke holes in everything. And I do that because when you look at the way that a foundation of a house is poured, they pour concrete and then they poke holes and they add additional steel rods to shore up and strengthen the foundation. That's my goal, right? That's a skill that I didn't even realize that I had, that everyone just saw me as someone who likes to critique. And I'm like, no, I'm looking at this holistically and I have a bunch of questions. Make sure that you're expanding on that. If you're someone who asks questions, lean into that, because you're growing your own acumen, you're learning, you're absorbing information, but you're also in an effective and professional way challenging people around you to think differently, to think broadly. And when you're able to do that from a strategic standpoint, then your team is always going to be stronger. Everyone around you will be stronger, and they'll realize that you're the one that's pushing them to be better as a sum than we are in our own individual parts. So I would say the strategic advisor, leaning into, what is inherently you. For me, it's asking a ton of questions like we're on a game show, and then being an effective orator. If you're not able to clearly communicate your path, your goals, there are definitely organizations and programs that can help you with that, because that will be a powerful tool, especially as you're stepping into any type of career, whether that's entrepreneurial, corporate America, anything. Being able to effectively and clearly, state the impact that you have is priceless.
Indeed it is, and some great leadership skills that you outlined there. Thank you so much, Jamie. Tracy, we'll move on to you next. What are some of the skills that you have that have allowed you to accomplish so much?
I think I'm going to hit on some of them that were already discussed, but I absolutely think having a vision, that's how I lead my group, is setting what I want for my vision to be for the year. Where do I see things going? Where do I see the needs? And then, as Susan was saying, building small tactical points around that of how we're going to get to the vision. But bringing in as well what Jamie was saying, it's not just enough to have a vision and then develop a plan on what you're going to execute to get there, and make sure you can measure those small chunks of tasks that you're doing to get there. But you have to be able to communicate it, and you have to be able to communicate it in a way that resonates with others. So making sure that your vision fits in line with the overall goals of the organization, that you're aligning it to the broader goals, what the senior management team is talking about, and then you're able to articulate it to a broad group of people in a way that's going to resonate with them, shows the value, shows what you're bringing to the table, what you're doing to help, and why your vision is going to make things, why it's a need, and why it's going to make things better, and for the organization. So I absolutely think that's a key, and those were areas that the group was already speaking about. And always learning. When you pick what you like to do and you're passionate about it, you always want to know more. And I'm in this role, I've been working at AIG for 7 years already, and I'm learning something new all the time. I'm learning things new about the company, about me, about the business, about our clients. And sometimes I'll have people that have worked here for 2 years or 3 years, and they come to me and they're like, I've learned everything I'm going to learn. And I'm thinking, that is not a good thing. I mean, you should be in a role where you are constantly learning. And I think if you're constantly learning, you're passionate about it, or if you're passionate about it, you're constantly learning, and it gets to what Jamie's saying, asking more questions. There's always more to be done. And so if you're identifying what the needs still are, and you're asking questions, then you're learning, and you're figuring out how to do things better and continuing to improve the process. Nothing is ever done. It's always a journey. So you always have to set this new vision, what your goals are going to be to get there, being able to articulate it in a way that resonates, and make sure that you're constantly learning from people within your team, your organization, external partners, and other stakeholders.
That's great. Thank you so much, Tracy. Being that visionary, developing the plan, and communicating it's so important for leaders. So thank you so much. Finally, Maite, what do you think? What are some of the skills that you have that have enabled you to accomplish so much in your career already?
So I want to touch on 3 things briefly. So the first thing is, I like that you have to have a vision of things, but sometimes, and I think because I struggled with it, it's sometimes hard to know what is that big thing that you actually want to do. So that's when you have to step in and reflect on what your passions are, or what is something that makes you happy. Like when I was in high school, I was like, I enjoy physics, I enjoy math. What should I do? How can I apply it? How can I enjoy this? So I went and I did engineering. Was engineering my path? I didn't know, but that matched basically what I wanted, like what I enjoyed doing when I was in high school. And so that ended up being a great path for me because I'm enjoying it now. And another thing is, if you go into science, engineering, it's not very women, not a lot of women are involved in it, right? And we all know that, it's not a secret. I mean, we are getting better at it, but we're still far behind. You don't go into engineering and learn soft skills. You don't learn interpersonal skills. You don't learn how to communicate. You don't learn, engineering schools are not teaching you this. They teach you technical things, how to use a software, how to measure something, how to apply the physics, how to apply the math, how to solve a problem. But those soft skills, as learning how to communicate, learning how to interact with other people with different backgrounds, and learning how to dress professionally, learning how to, all the skills that we don't learn in school are so important. And I know this because when I went into interviews and I will be sitting there all nervous, everything that I had learned by reading books, by talking to my professors, by trying to get trained on all these skills, I was able to put into practice. I was able to say, hey, this is who I am. This is what I can bring to the table. I know I'm young. I know I don't have the experience, but I was able to express myself and communicate the skills that I had, what I had learned, the passion that I had for my career and what I want my career to be. And so that HR person or that manager saw that in me. And maybe they thought, okay, you don't have the years of experience, but I can see your confidence and I can see what you bring to the table because I was able to communicate this and I was able to connect with them. And so I would say take advantage of learning the soft skills that are going to help you move on. Like, as someone that has such a strong personality, I did have to learn how to understand that maybe other people need a certain way of communicate differently than I do. And so you can be blunt with me. You can tell me everything straightforward, but some people tend to want things to be detailed in a different way. So you got to learn how everyone has a different communication skill or a different communication way. So I think that, yeah, that's what I can say.
Well, that's great, and thank you so much for sharing that great information with us. So important. Thank you so much, Maite. So our next student presenter is Sonia, and I'm going to bring her up here on the screen so she can ask her question to all of our panelists. Sonia, can you unmute yourself and ask our final question to our panel?
Yes, I would love to. Hi, I'm Sonia. I am a junior, and you guys are just so great to listen to. Like, it's inspiring. I'm like blown away. But I'll get to the question. Here we go. So one of the best things about the Women's Future Leadership Academy is the opportunity to learn valuable career advice from leaders like you guys. And thinking about the students joining us today and in the future, what would you tell your younger self?
All right. Great question, Sonia. What would you tell your younger self? And we're going to start this last question with Jamie. Jamie, what would you tell your younger self? Thank you, Sonia.
I think I would tell my younger self something that I tell myself today, right? And that is that your sister is not your competition. She is your protection. And by that, I mean, often in the professional world and industry, at times, women can be pitted against each other, or there can be environments and situations where, you know, we're all going for the one same role. And so then, you know, things can become challenging. But today, more than ever, I wish that I could go back with some of the, you know, relationships that I had with other young women my age in high school, and realize how much I could learn from them and how much I can lean on them, and the ways in which we should be even protecting each other, right? I spent so much time fighting to be different that I didn't necessarily honor the ways that we are all the same. and some of the battles that we fight that are all the same, right? Gender bias, pay discrepancy. We don't even need to touch with what's happening out in the real world right now. You know, but when you look to your left and to your right and behind you and in front of you, and you see women that are continuing to be challenged with the same battles that have existed for women since the beginning of time, it's important to remember that you're not competing against her and she's not competing against you, because we should be united in our efforts to ensure that there are an equitable amount of seats at the table. If your sister, and by sister, I just mean any woman in your life, gets to the table before you, please always believe that she's doing it so that she can create another seat for you to sit next to her. And then when you're there, you're going to create another seat for the next woman to sit next to you. So I literally have that. Someone said that, I heard that years ago, and I wish I had had this information when I was younger, and I had it printed and I have it mounted on a wall you can't see in my office. But my sister is not my competition because she is my protection. And I view all women that I encounter in all of my life and all walks of life as my sister. And I would also say another piece of advice that I wish that I had when I was younger. Often we hear about having a seat at the table. We're looking for a seat. We're trying to get a seat. I wish that my younger self knew that by the time I got to my age, I would no longer be satisfied with just wanting a seat. I want the table. And I want the table because I want us all to be at the table. And that is an aspiration that I didn't believe possible years ago, but I'm fortunate enough to have the viewpoint that I do today to know that it's not only possible, but happening across the board. So there are no doors, there are no challenges that you cannot overcome. There is no seat that is not for you. There is no destiny that is not attainable for you. And don't let anyone ever tell you different, because you were uniquely and beautifully made, and you're meant to be a powerful force in this thing that we call life.
Absolutely. Jamie, thank you so much. Great words. Tracy, we'll turn it over to you. What advice would you give to all the young students attending right now?
Well, that was so beautiful. It's hard to follow up after that, but I would say, it's you have to find something that you're passionate about, because you're doing it for a long time. You're doing it day in and day out. You want to take it. You want to be creative with it. You want to own it and be accountable for it. So you really need to think outside the box as you're going into thinking about what kind of careers you want. And like Mate was saying earlier about, that she liked science and engineering and kind of the path was, think about the things that you really like, just kind of the qualities of it. I wanted to do something that was involved with sales. I knew I wanted to be in a business environment. I knew I wanted to work with people. I needed to have short-term projects with quick results. I'm not someone who could work on a long-term project and wait to see results. That might work for other people. So thinking outside, sometimes I'll work with, do some work with students, and a lot of people will say, I want to be a lawyer and an accountant. And I think a lot of just thinking of those standard kind of professions, it's because you're not exposed to too much. So make sure that you get exposure. You're going into college, you take different classes when you can, so you can get exposed to different types of environments, different types of people, different types of subjects, and you'll be looking for internships. When you're in those internships, try to network with people that are there to learn more about their career story, how they got there, what different opportunities are. You take a look at this panel, and these are all unique jobs. Like, you're not sitting there thinking, graduating school and I didn't even know what cybersecurity was. I barely even really knew what insurance was about. But then you end up, you follow kind of the qualities of what you like, and you get yourself into this role. But that's really important. So most aren't going to end up in these standard careers, but you want to use your college time to really explore what are the core things that you like. What do you want your career to be made up of? What are those qualities? And make sure you're using opportunities in school and through internships, to just get more exposure to what the possibilities are. There are many great possibilities, as Jamie was saying, and everything is available, and you can do whatever it is that you want to do, for sure.
Absolutely. Tracy, thank you so much. Great words of wisdom. Maite, what do you think? What advice would you give to the students who are participating?
Well, an advice I will give to my younger self would definitely be to slow down, to not rush so much, living in the future, just like, oh, I want to graduate high school, and then I want to graduate college, and then I want to get a job, and only thinking about this and not really enjoying that moment and what you have. I mean, high school was great, but then you go to college and college was even better, and then you get a job and it's even better. It just gets better, but you don't know it when you're in the moment. Like you just like, oh, I hate college, all these classes, like this professor I hate, this person that sits next to me, it's annoying. Just try to enjoy that time that you have now, because it's not going to repeat again. This is it. This is what you have. And yeah, that would be one advice. And then the second one would be just try not to compete so much, like Jamie was saying, with other people, not just female, but also male and anyone. Try not to be the best. Try to be the best that you can be for yourself and to serve others. Like I spent a lot of my years in college trying to be the best grade or the best paper or win the scholarship, and to just tell people that I won or that I got it. But then, is that making me happy? Am I helping people? Am I trying to be better to serve? Am I trying to be better for a positive thing? Or am I just trying to be better so that people tell me that I'm good and give me gifts and awards? So just try to enjoy the time that you have now and try to be the best to serve others, to be positive, so that people actually can connect with you and you can be a little bit more interconnected, I will say.
That's great. Thank you so much, Maite. Enjoy the moment. This is not a dress rehearsal. I always try to remind myself that. Great advice for the students. Susan, we're going to ask you to bring it home here. So what advice as an HR leader would you share with your younger self or the students who are joining?
Yeah, I would say a couple. One is get your compass to point to your own North Star. And that is, don't live for anybody else's expectations. Only live for your own expectations. And this is a little bit about what Jamie was talking about too, is do what you want to be contributing, do what you want to be known for, and chart your path intentionally along that. And, listen, I did something that was unique. I did mommy path. I left the workforce for 5 years. Is that right for everybody? No, but it was right for me. And so I'm extremely passionate and compassionate, for folks. And as, they are working through and how do they want to? Some people do want to work, some people don't want to work. And so you just need to chart your own course and live into it and be intentional. But I think the biggest word is that power of reflection, to say, how am I showing up? And self-evaluate and have self-awareness as well. And I always say, listen, we're all work in progress. Every single day I learn something new. Every single day I say, listen, I can improve. I listen to my team. What can I do better? What can I do? And so always seek feedback, because we can be better. Nobody walked in perfect into their job any day. I didn't wake up perfect. And so, I'm just grateful I woke up that day, so that's starting out. And then I would say the other thing is, in life, we've been taught to give and give act of kindness to so many others in life, especially as women. Be caretakers, be there, give to others. But I would say that put yourself in queue. Be the first one in line to be kind to yourself. Because, as I said earlier, sometimes we're our own worst critic and we get in our own way. And that kindness to self can release your energy. It can make you better. It can give you that confidence to move forward with your shoulders back, your chin up, and your face into the wind.
Wow, that's fantastic. So, some really great themes throughout our conversation today about being your own advocate and standing up and taking advantage of these opportunities, being your authentic self, and not being afraid of challenges. Fantastic discussion, and certainly energizing, I think, for myself and all of us and all the students who are joining now and who are going to be joining us in the future. Huge thanks to our panelists today, Jamie Ellis from Verizon, Tracy Grella from AIG, Maite Javier from Colliers, and Susan Podlegar from MetLife. We thank you also very much to our students, Luani, Priya, and Sonia. And of course, Aaliyah put some really amazing questions there in the chat. A lot of them were answered by you during the panel, so we thank all of you so much. Students, panelists, thank you for a great conversation. We really appreciate you and your leadership. Wishing you a wonderful rest of the week and weekend. Thank you all so very much.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.